Christianity has a terrible track record of just killing whole villages and killing and eradicating whole cultures that don't adopt the status quo. The reason we can't ask the Cathars, the reason we can't ask the students of the Gnosis, the reason we can't even ask the Waldenses about what really happened when the Roman Catholics went in there and killed every man, woman, and child to a T is because they're all dead. Simple as that. There's no way to talk to even their descendants. They were killed to a man because they simply believed that Jesus Christ was a spiritual phenomenon, a spiritual message to spiritual beings trapped in a physical world ruled by the devil. That's all they believed. They believed that true spirit would send nothing but spirit to reveal things that were spiritual to spiritual beings who just happened to be in a physical prison underneath a false god temporarily. That's all they believe. This is the core fundamental of the Gnosis. And all these people were exterminated because that's what they believed. So you can see, I mean, we already know, I mean, I don't want to get real dark here. I've never discussed it with my own community, but we already know that FEMA actually purchased tens of thousands of guillotines. My listeners, real quick about this. Okay, a lot of people think that the testimony of Pontius Pilate before Tiberius Augustus Caesar, or whatever, is an actual historical document. A lot of people believe that a lot of these documents from the early Christian church that talk about Pontius Pilate and different Dionysius, the Areopagite, all these things that confirm Christianity, they think that these documents are old, and they're not. They were all written by Christian monks. And this was all revealed when the church made a critical mistake. They had claimed that several of these old documents claiming Christianity was actually real were found. Here they are. Y'all can check them all out. However, some guy, I can't remember his name, I published it in my Chronicon. I can't remember the guy's name, but he studied one of these documents called the Donation of Constantine, an actual document that was centuries old that purported that Constantine, when he died, he signed over the Roman Empire and all his holdings over to the Church of Rome. This was 100% a fiction. The document existed. The document was hundreds of years old. But this guy, when he studied it, he noticed instantly that when the document quoted biblical verses, it only used the Latin Vulgate. This guy was a scholar, and he knew the Latin Vulgate could have never been used in the days of Constantine. Therefore, this was a forged document. The Latin Vulgate of the Catholic Bible wasn't even invented yet.
Right, I was going to say it didn't exist at that point.
When
right.
Constantine was alive. So they go back and look at all these other documents, and that's why scholars don't even touch it anymore. You can't get academia to read any of these old deals. They know they're all forgeries. All this stuff was written by the church to make it look like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were real, and not originally the Greek stage play that was called The Sayings of Jesus, that was in the possession of a Turkish navigator named Marcion. And the original New Testament didn't have a single miracle. The original New Testament had no virgin birth, it did not have the crucifixion, it did not have the sun darkening, the earthquake, none of these things. The whole sun darkening episode was borrowed from the Phoenix phenomenon records of Trallas of Bithynia, who had actually recorded a real Phoenix event in 31 BC. So the church took all these older documents and they incorporated all these Phoenix sun darkening references from older texts. And then, just like when the Jews wrote the Old Testament, they omitted all the Israelite references and inserted Jewish names instead. The same thing the Roman church did. They omitted the original historians that were writing about Phoenix phenomenon stuff, and then they redated it to 33 AD. And anybody using a computer and using the eclipse software, we'll see that no eclipses and no sun darkening ever happened in 33 AD. 33 AD is not even on the 138-year Phoenix phenomenon. Every bit of this was invented over 175 years after the alleged events were supposed to unfold. So people get mad at me. I get hate mail. I get emails talking about you're the son of the devil and all this. But there's no way you can get around the fact that we have in our possession today 10 manuscripts, 10 books from 10 authors who are all living in the days of Jesus, and not one single one of them mentioned the earthquake in Jerusalem. They were all there. Not one single one of them mentioned the sun darkening. No one mentioned any miraculous stuff going on. No one mentioned Jesus. None of this. In the Christian world, they're programmed to believe in these apologists, and these apologists are lying. They are only citing what academia has already determined are absolute interpolations in forged texts. And one of these is Josephus. It is widely known that no original copies of Josephus exist. And the reason is because the manuscript was sanitized. It went through church filters and was rewritten. And all of a sudden, when Josephus is found again, after centuries of being lost, Flavius Josephus' text all of a sudden now has something that not one ancient author who was familiar with Josephus ever cited. And every one of these original church historians would have cut their fingers off to cite this guy. They were all trying to prove Jesus was real. So they would have never not mentioned Josephus. They all cited Josephus, but they never mentioned the passage about Jesus that's found in the modern translations of Josephus. And this is why academia has already condemned the modern translations of Josephus, because the Jesus reference is an interpolation. We have the proof of that because nobody before ever mentioned it, and yet they all cited Josephus, and they never would have omitted that fact. The church has been busted over and over and over doing this. People don't understand how intense academia has studied these texts and found these lacunas and found these interpolations. Every bit of this story was manufactured. And in a personal level, I'm cool with it, because I don't believe that an eternal spiritual oversoul is ever going to require a physical avatar to go through excruciating pain and die and go through human sacrifice and going to go through all these things just to teach me a spiritual lesson. No, I don't need to be saved. I was never lost. None of us were. We're just here to grow. We're just passing through. I can just wear a t-shirt for the rest of my life, just passing through, and I'm telling the truth. Because that's all this is it's an experience. I say it all the time. It's a perceived reality. It's not an actual one. So I'm cool with what academia has found. It doesn't offend me at all.